Well, everybody. Usually on Fridays, it's kind of the end of the week and the news isn't necessarily piling up and we kind of just have fun. But on this Friday show, we got a whole buttload of things to go through as altcoins are showing signs of life. Bitcoin dominance, not just back below 60%, making some moves that we haven't seen in quite some time. Does that mean that the bottom is confirmed in? We're going to tackle that question along with all the big stories you need to know about in the news. Hey, we could be like an hour away or a couple hours away from the government shutdown ending, or we still could be a couple of weeks. That we don't know that one. We're going to tackle that topic and what it means for your altcoin charts. How about the AI tokens? If you are an AI token type of person and your portfolio is built upon crypto AI, well, the last couple of months weren't so great, but today you are up a handsome penny. And we're going to talk about those things. We're looking at as many charts as possible. We won't have time to look at every chart that probably is worthy of looking at today, but we're going to do our best. So let's get into it. Smash the like right now. Hit subscribe. Smay's not with us today. Nothing happened to him. He's actually at a golf tournament or something. It's me and the Shrum dog, T Shrum, of course. He's Mr. Button Pusher slash our head of research today. So do what his hat says, hodl on. And Shrum, how are you doing today?
Oh, Tim, I am better than I deserve. It's just like the good old days, just you and I, me behind
It
the
is.
production buttons, and we're having fun. By the way, little inside baseball here. This is what the buttons look like. Pretty cool,
That
huh?
is. They are actually buttons. Some people think we lie about buttons, but we don't lie about buttons. Hopefully we don't lie about much at all. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, so I think we should just go ahead and get right on into it. Let's look at some charts here.
Let's
Let's
do
go
it.
ahead and go to my screen and look at charts. Bring Shum back up here in a second to talk news. But Bitcoin, it's funny that Bitcoin is doing quite well today, but it's not even anything worth talking about. Here's the deal, though. We got to talk about Bitcoin. The key still lies in what's happening on the Bitcoin chart compared to other things. But something really important. Earlier today, I was doing a VIP live trading session with our VIP members, and we talked about the significance of this resistance level here. I actually got to go even lower here because we were looking at like a 15-minute chart time period. I'm on the 1 hour right now. The significance of this resistance right here couldn't be understated. This could cause, and I'm not about to tell you this is the reason why a bottom is in, right? We have to evaluate that question itself. But I want to start off by just kind of letting you guys know how significant this is to break this structure that's been in existence for the last 2 days of bearish momentum. We've broken through. And right now, we are on our fourth long of the day in the VIP trading group. At least my group of it is, right? We have a lot of pro traders over there. But this morning, I've already had 3 successful long trades. We technically took profit 1 on this one. So that makes 4 successful long trades this morning. We got a little more room to the upside. How much further will it go? Let's tackle that here in just a little bit. I'm not even going to suspense it. Let's go ahead and get into some longer term stuff, though. When it comes to the bottom being in, literally right before watching a bunch of altcoins explode here, I was having a conversation today that I'm not for sure certain. I think I said I would put myself right now at the bottom being in at roughly 40% likelihood, in my opinion. 60%, though, I would say I still lean towards there's a little bit lower to go. And I want to be clear here. Even though this explosion's been fun, I'm going to say the same thing I say to people when people freak out looking at intermediate charts. It's very exciting to look at this, right? It's more exciting. Let me show you a 5-minute chart right here. That is a very fun looking bullish chart. You want to look at another really fun bullish looking chart? Let's go look at one of those AI tokens called FET. By the way, FET, in case you did not know, is up 73% on the daily candle today. That's a fun looking chart right there, isn't it? That makes you feel really good. You guys know, though, how sometimes when people look at charts and they see the negativity, they jump to bad conclusions and they start getting really bearish. And I tell them, hey, before you freak out, zoom out. All right. I want to do the same thing with the crypto space as a whole. Even FET right here, 74% of the day. At one point, it was up even higher. It's actually corrected here a little bit in the last hour and some change. But let's zoom out here for a second, and you'll realize before you freak out, going berserk, thinking the bottom is confirmed in, make sure you understand what you're looking at. FET, and we'll look at some other coins today, and we'll do some analysis. We'll probably rely a lot on chat and what you guys want to talk about today. FET simply made a move today back up towards a former level of support. Like, zoom out a little bit more here. There was a trend line. I gotta get even further out. There was a trend line for FET that was very strong, dating all the way back here to 2020, right? So FET back here in 2020 started this support level. We've had a couple touches since then. What we're doing right now, unless we get a major breakthrough, is simply retesting former support as resistance. Now, I don't want to damper everyone's spirits here. I don't want you to walk away from this saying, oh, Tim's saying for sure we're crashing lower. I'm not saying for sure anything. What I'm telling you is before you freak out either positively or negatively, make sure you're aware of what is happening. This, as good as today's candle is not yet into bullish territory. Get me some candles closed above this green line again, and then let's start having a conversation about the bottom being in. Same thing when you take a look at a coin like Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin, as we said, and you guys can already see it there, very good looking 5-minute chart. There we go. Finally correcting here. I'm glad I took my first take profit on that trade just in case anything happens. Very good 5-minute trade right there. 5-minute looking chart right there. Zoom out though. We are still squarely in a downtrend. This still hasn't eliminated the plethora of things that are still sitting below 100K that are screaming we're not quite done yet. I continue to let people know the fear and greed index. Are we back down into extreme fear today at 24? Yes. But we still have not gotten anywhere close to that 10, which historically, while 20s can be the bottom, I want to be very clear, can be the bottom. With moves like what we've seen here recently, this just screams to me we need to be closer to 15 to 10 on fear and greed. And yet, with these little bumps we have, we're kind of ticking back towards the upside. We're not getting into the extreme fear that normally correlates with these bottoms. So I remain somewhat hesitant to declare the bottom is in. We're not getting a buy signal on the daily chart. Can I give you some hope? We're getting a rounding off on the oscillators. We're seeing potential signs. I think the 12-hour is beginning to give us some form of something. No positive money flow, but a green dot is in order. But the problem is, even just because we get a buy signal, let's even say the daily chart, that doesn't confirm the bottom is in. We had a daily buy signal back here on October 22nd, had a great rally back up, only to get rejected in a downtrend. What I need to see to confirm the bottom is in, right? I need to see us get back above 111,000, and I need us to break this bearish structure. I think even confirm is a strong word there. I think you really need to get back up here above 116 to really feel good about it, but it's a good start, and it makes you feel better about things if we can break above 111. But I want to make sure we're just very clear here. Today is great news. Today is great looking charts. If you risked it with us and entered some long positions because you knew we were at least due for a dead cat bounce, you have made some good money here today. I just want to make sure to caution people. I'm not promising you that the bottom is not in. I'm not telling you we have to crash and go lower, but I'm telling you, make sure you zoom out before you freak out, before you go and take a second mortgage out on your house to go buy Bitcoin at these cheap prices or your favorite altcoin at these cheap prices. Make sure you're taking a healthy perspective of what's going on. Remember that one of the biggest reasons for this crash here recently, and I even am a little hesitant to call it a crash, seeing is that Bitcoin is still from the very top to the very bottom of this move. It's only 21% down from the all-time high, but I'll call it a crash for kicks and giggles. It was mostly caused at this point from over-leveraged excitement from crypto holders who were convinced the bottom was in. So I want to just make sure we're clear here. We're not forming higher highs and higher lows yet. We're not doing these crazy things. Make sure you are staying alert on this. The weekly sell signal that we have been tracking since way back here in August, we've gotten close, but we haven't officially tapped that weekly smart trail that we normally end up hitting. Also, Fibonacci extension-wise, right, Fibonacci retracement-wise, every time this year we've hit either the 0.5 or the golden pocket. 0.5 is still down here south of $97,000. Golden pocket sitting down here closer to $91,000. So we're not out of the woods just yet. With that said, I told you I take a look at a lot of altcoins today. But before I look at any altcoin, and before we talk about altcoins and where they could be and what they're doing and the strength of this movement, let's talk about a potential reason we could see some bullish action and we could see the bottom being in. I put this out on Twitter earlier today. Of course, Bitcoin now back up over 103,000, fell briefly this morning below 100,000. At the same time, though, when you start to look at lower time frames, gold continues to not explode to the upside. Historically, when Bitcoin collapses, gold seems to start to rally. When gold pulls back, Bitcoin rallies. Right now, gold has found itself in a little bit of a pullback, and it's in a bear trend, a bear pennant formation. Let's go back out here to the daily chart so you can see it kind of more clearly. And we're not seeing gold explode on any of this news. So that's kind of funny. Bitcoin continued to lose some money, dropping about 100K, but gold really not capitalizing on that. Bitcoin dominance has begun to collapse here a little bit. And when I say collapse, yeah, we're not down below, 55% or anything. We're not down below where we were back here in September when we got down to 57%. But we are seeing some of the biggest blue or bearish candles we've seen in a couple of weeks here as Bitcoin dominance, after breaking resistance once again, spending several candles up above here, making even me think, man, maybe Bitcoin dominance wants to make its way back towards 65, 66% or higher. We're now back down inside this trend, and I'm not necessarily seeing a reason to stop. The sell signal on the is just getting going. When I go to the 12-hour chart, we still have a lot of room down here. If you were to show me on the 12-hour daily we're bottoming out, I would say, oh, guys, we're probably just hitting support and bouncing back up. And we might see a little bit of bounce here as even the 4-hour chart starts to head back down towards oversold levels. But when I'm looking at this daily chart and I'm seeing that sell signal and I'm seeing we got a long way down to go, this absolutely is something that should be pricking everybody's eyes towards these charts to say, you know what? The bottom might not be confirmed just yet, but these are the types of things that tell me, even if it's not here yet, this should be pretty close. Let's pair it with one more chart that you need to be paying attention to right now, right? Pay attention to Bitcoin. Bitcoin tells a big story. Pay attention to gold. Gold and Bitcoin, what they do in tandem with each other is important. Bitcoin dominance is important between the Bitcoin relationship with altcoins. But how about liquidity in general? USDT, ladies and gentlemen, do not neglect your USDT dominant chart. Right, we had a big rally here over the last couple of weeks, but we've run ourselves right back into some downtrending resistance of a technical lower high formation forming on USDT dominance. This, of course, is a question we've been talking about for a while now. Liquidity. We need USDT dominance along with liquidity from other places we need USDT dominance to collapse. We need liquidity to rise. And what we're watching right now, even though we poked through it here over the last couple of days, meaning making a case that potentially, if this were to confirm a breakout and make moves up, a bear market could be here. All of a sudden, we find ourselves today starting to confirm resistance. Pair that with the indicators and what they're saying. You are seeing not an official sell signal on the daily chart yet, but a clear rounding of oscillators in oversold territory. 12-hour chart, though, here we go. We're starting to see the sell signals coming in. 4-hour chart, if it loads, 4-hour sell signals are coming in. The sell signals are starting to load up on USDT dominance as we are bouncing our heads on resistance. Now, again, go off my screen for a second here, Shrum. I want to be very clear. We're going to do more TA here in a second after reading some news. I am not saying that the bottom is in, and I'm not saying the bottom is not in. We are sitting on a key decision point that you need to pay attention. When people hear technical analysts come online and say we could go up, could go down, I know that's a frustrating conversation. I know that's not what you want to hear. This is a key moment right now. As certain coins sit on long-term support levels, as certain assets or certain indicators are sitting at resistance levels, this is the make it or break it zone. Do you believe in a bear market? Do you think the top is in and we're going much, much lower? Well, then we'll watch these support levels get destroyed. We'll watch USDT dominance and Bitcoin dominance skyrocket, and the bear market will be upon us. Or Will the resistance of USDT dominance and Bitcoin dominance hold? Will gold continue its bear pennant pattern and fall to the downside? And will the solid rallies that we've seen happen this morning and this afternoon on Bitcoin and altcoins, will they continue smashing some key resistance levels? All of these are things to watch over the next week. We're preparing for a big move. Is that move big to the upside, or is that move big to the downside? That is the question. But I'll tell you this, if you just want my opinion, not my financial advice, not me telling you what to do with your portfolio, because I can't tell you that. That's your decision. I'm leaning towards the bottom is either in or the bottom is close, especially Bitcoin.
All right. Tim, can you hear me? Uh-oh. All right, I think we got him back on. Hey, Tim.
All right, there we go. What? Any idea, Shrum, where they lost me? What was I saying when they lost me?
You were just about to get into Bitcoin dominance, the good stuff.
I think I was pretty sure I was just about to tell people how they will make $1 billion in the next 3. Just kidding. I don't want to say that for YouTube. You don't play that game with YouTube. YouTube, I'm not promising anyone any type of gains financially whatsoever. That was a joke. What I was saying was, fact check me on this, everybody. I'm sorry. Weird eruption there. I've never seen on the daily candles where Bitcoin dominance falls down, but altcoins are also falling, right? You can see where Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin price are falling, and those are oftentimes altcoin seasons. Where you talk about January of 2021, talk about February of 2017. Yeah. Those are the only time. Is my sound bad, Shrum? My sound's in and out?
It doesn't sound bad to me, but people in the comments are saying, yeah, sound is choppy. I don't know what that would be.
All right, let's okay. Sound is okay. Bad audio. Okay, so we got bad. Yeah. Matt C saying it's bad. Make sure, hey, I will say this. If you're on a phone, let's see.
Oh, for
phones
some
could be a
it's
problem.
Good. For some people it's good, for some it's not.
Yeah, I would imagine it's phone people.
Yeah. All right, I'd say keep going.
All right, we're just going to keep going. I apologize, everybody. Technical difficulties. Smay walked away. Blame Smay. Everyone, if you're hearing me talking, just in the he won't see this if it's in chat. Go to the comment section and say, Smay, it's all your fault. And of course, we love Smay, but he's gone, and that's why we're having so many problems. Never does Bitcoin dominance collapse and altcoins collapse over a multi-day period. I'm not saying over an hourly candle or a 5-minute candle, daily candles. The only times I ever see Bitcoin dominance collapse and Bitcoin price collapse is during an actual altcoin season. Then Bitcoin relays and it starts to bounce, and all of a sudden, the Bitcoin dominance keeps falling and everything rallies. But with Bitcoin dominance showing us signs of weakness, with USDT dominance showing signs of weakness, I'm not even ruling out a situation where Bitcoin's bottom is not in, but altcoins are. And I'll show you what I mean by that, because like I said, let's go back here one more time. I know we have to get into news here, but it's been a fun stream here. We have a sell signal on pretty much everything out there on the weekly chart, but Bitcoin is the only one, at least to my knowledge, we'll do a couple tests here. Bitcoin is the only one that has not quite touched that historic weekly smart trail that we've hit every single time this bull run so far. You're going to see here we got a little bit further to go to get closer towards that smart trail touch. Not the same thing when you look at a coin like Ethereum, for example. Ethereum with the nasty wick came down and went slightly below that. Of course, I could show you almost every single altcoin out here. I'll just show you a handful. For example, Chainlink below, Ondo below. I mean, it's going to load here for a second, but below. Altcoins have hit these weekly sell signal targets. Bitcoin, not quite yet. So again, I want to make sure we're clear here. If you're on a phone, you might have audio problems on a phone. Switch to a laptop or an iPad if you can. I apologize, people on phones. Sound just might be horrible. Technical difficulties. YouTube also might be doing something strange at the moment. Is the bottom in? I don't know. Until I see the rallies to the upside, until I see resistance broken, I cannot confirm the bottoms are in. But I'll tell you this right now, there are absolutely hopium signs out there. So trade responsibly. DCA strategies are still a winning game when it comes to looking at pullbacks in the markets. But ultimately, continue to do your own research, think for yourself, grow your understanding, and make your own decisions when it comes to your finances. Let's get into some news here, Shrum. Maybe it's just the phone people, but we're gonna keep on. The show's got to go on. There's too much to talk about today to pause and worry about audio issues. Guys, even though the audio stinks, apparently, smash the like and hit subscribe. If you only hear every other word, I'm going to say it slower so they hear it. Smash the like button. There you go. Subscribe. There we go. All right, they're good. What have we got in the way of news do people need to know about here today, Shrum?
Tim, we've got some interesting news. Let's get into it. Breaking 99.5% of spot Bitcoin ETF investors held through the 20% drawdown. This is according to Bloomberg analyst Eric Bulkanis. You'll recognize that name if you were in the world of crypto early 2024 because him and James Seyfert of Bloomberg were our helpful TradFi guides through the passage of the ETFs as they overcame the cave troll Gary Gensler. So Eric Bulkanis brings us yet again some more bullishness here. And this is actually pretty interesting here. 99.5 of folks who, or 99.5 of the liquidity in those ETFs stayed in, right? Now, some of them went out, obviously. However, a lot of them stayed in. Now, let's go ahead and get it because we're not going to get too far from the ETF news here. November 6th, ETF flows, strength continues. In fact, this was the first day this week that Bitcoin and an ETF the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs both had positive inflows, but it is not the first day for Solana. In fact, Solana, every day that it has been live, every day that Solana has had a spot ETF, it has gotten positive inflows. Today it had, on the 6th, yesterday, it had 9.7 million in net inflows. So that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana all having positive inflows. We'll park it there and have a little bit of an ETF conversation. Tim, there's three major sources of liquidity for this bull market so far. It's been the Bitcoin treasury companies and the ETFs, right? And then we've also seen the stable coins that have been kind of sidelined, but they're at some point going to rotate back in. So those three forces very strong in the first half of 2025. Now, Wintermute and other agencies like that are saying that the second half of 2025 hasn't been so bullish because those three forces, those three liquidity flows have been subdued and more bearish. So the fact that we're seeing some positivity today on the ETF front is definitely bringing me a lot of reassurance and optimism. How's it making you feel?
Yeah, I think this is something to prepare yourself for. I'm not going to say I'll never buy an ETF. I'm much more of the guy who's going to go buy on an exchange. I'm going to trade on exchanges. I'm going to go buy on like a Coinbase or a Crypto.com or a Kraken. I'm going to buy and get the actual assets. That's just how I want to do it. I want to have cold storage. I want to own it myself. I'm not, though, one of the crypto purists, I'll call them, that's anti the ETFs. I understand if you want to live in this world where crypto is decentralized and it's for the people and you don't want institutions to come in and corrupt it. I understand why you hate the ETFs. I understand why you hate what's going on right now. That's just where we are. We're at a place where the institutions will control the inflows and outflows of price action, and the ETFs are going to be a big deal there. I don't know if this is one of the headlines we're going to read, but of course, JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, who has been historically anti-Bitcoin, although secretly we always suspected he was buying, they disclosed here more recently they own a whole buttload of Bitcoin via ETFs. So ETFs are here to stay. It is going to be probably the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest, but one of the biggest ways for people to get exposure to cryptocurrency. There's going to be so many people from the TradFi realm who just don't know about a Coinbase. They already were skeptical about things like a Robinhood, which was more up their alley. They're much more comfortable with the ETF system. So don't be surprised to see billions and eventually trillions of dollars flowing via ETFs. It's just the next wave of how crypto prices will be increased and decreased, by the way. But what that means is you're going to have a serious advantage to any coin that gets themselves a big boy ETF. America, other large countries, when you get a big boy spot ETF, the likelihood of you collapsing and dying, pretty slim. Could you still stay low and not make it very high? Sure, because people end up not picking you, and eventually the ETF filer will cancel their ETF. But for right now, you hear a story of a coin getting an American ETF, a big boy ETF, pretty sure you should be selecting that coin to sit in your portfolio, because that's where the whales and institutional whales, I guess I should say, are going to be buying and selling their crypto. And if that's their only options, that's what they're going with. But that's where we are with ETFs. Apologize to anyone. I see, I don't love the person here. It's not says I'm unsubscribing because I'm DeFi completely. There's still DeFi out there, but the big movement is going to probably be happening via ETFs. Do you disagree with that, Shrum?
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. Especially as we see, Coinbase ranking on the App Store continuing to be unenthusiastic, right? That means that folks are not coming in through, the decentralized world. And I know, obviously, Coinbase is a centralized exchange, but they're not even coming in through that way.
You're not coming through the traditional realms that people have come through in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you. I think that the forces that got Bitcoin up above 100K are still there, but they're not accelerating, if that makes sense. So think MicroStrategies, think Metaplanet, think other Bitcoin treasury companies. They were responsible for a large portion of the bid that was pushing Bitcoin price higher, right? Right now, maybe strategically they're kind of coordinating and taking a little bit of the bid out so that we can see, well, how far will Bitcoin fall without a bid from some of these bigger buyers that have come to the table more recently in the last 2 years. And, we're staying up above 100K. So I think that all systems are go. I think it's just it's a pullback in a bull market. Let's get on to the next story here. You alluded to it. JP Morgan reporting holding 5.2 million shares of Bitcoin ETF from BlackRock IBIT worth $343 million. This is now by dollar amounts. This is not really melting anybody's face from JP Morgan, but it is a 64% increase from their previous disclosure. So these financial institutions, they have to say, hey, we have bought this much or we hold this much of these assets, whether it be real estate or gold or whatever it is. 64% increase for one of the world's largest banks, JP Morgan. That's a pretty significant increase, especially leaded up by the CEO, Jamie Dimon, who's kind of been Elizabeth Warren in the private sector. So this is a positive move in my mind. JP Morgan's definitely a leader on Wall Street. So, Tim, you kind of mentioned this already, but is there anything about this that's interesting other than just the obvious? It's bullish.
I think it's interesting for people who didn't understand to call the bluff, right? If you're someone who just took what Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan said on face value, this is like shocking to you and it's very bullish, which, to be fair, there's a lot of people like that. We here on the Tim Warren channel have been talking for years about the deception of Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan CEOs. And again, we kind of had information, and I don't want to call it inside information because I don't know how inside it was. It was pretty evident Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan were stacking their Bitcoin one way or another. Now, I think the biggest takeaway for me is just the fact that it's on their balance sheet, right? We had suspicion that privately, a lot of senior executives at JP Morgan were already owning Bitcoin. Now the company is doing it, and they're doing it via ETFs. I think one thing I want to point out, you said, Shrum, that's very interesting, and I hadn't even thought about it till you said it, is one of the top signals we will be looking for when we start looking for tops, and we're looking for tops now, they're just not, here. Coinbase, will it shoot back up the rankings of App Store rankings? I don't know if we need to wait for Coinbase to be like a top 5 or top 3. I still think it will climb, but I think we'll see other things. I think we'll start to see ridiculously high record numbers of inflows to ETFs, to Robinhood, to Coinbase as well. We see records all the time of money flowing in, which signals whales. But I still think one of the biggest reasons the top is not in is because whether we think that or not, whether Coinbase doesn't ever make it in the top 5 of the App Store ever again, we still have not seen the onslaught of exit liquidity of new crypto investors. And I was talking to my brother about this morning. We were having a good powwow in the kitchen, and he was asking me, he was saying like, what makes you think, that the top isn't in necessarily? And what makes you think, by the way, he does some of our marketing stuff. So what makes you think that you shouldn't be marketing your academy more right now than just your trading group? I'm kind of putting you guys in inside information. And I said, right now, there's just not a whole lot of people that have no exposure to cryptocurrency, no form of education with it, haven't been around for a while. There's no new people in the space right now asking beginner-friendly questions. When I look at my chat, when I look at DMs I get on X and Discord, and people are asking questions, they're all pretty, high-level questions, sophisticated technical analysis questions, sophisticated questions about tech and which coins have better technology. There are time periods where the most questions you're getting during times like this are, how do I buy a Bitcoins? What do you think, which coin is most likely to match the price of Bitcoin in the future? Do you think that I should use Coinbase or do you think I should use Kraken? Like, those are beginner friendly questions. When I start to see those, I will start to worry about the top is in. Whether Coinbase is at the top of the charts, whether ETF inflows are showing it, I'm waiting to see the inflow of beginners into consuming crypto content. I think that's going to be one of the biggest top signals to me moving forward. Right now, though, or even yet, back in August and September, when a lot of these prices were topping, it still was mostly experienced crypto investors only in the space. You didn't have grandma and grandpa and Uncle Joe coming in and asking how to buy a Bitcoins or where's the safest play. That's not the questions we're getting quite yet. So interesting point you said that. I still will look for a rise in Coinbase, but I think it's even more important to watch crypto content on the internet and understand when the questions start getting low level or very easy sounding questions. That's going to be a top for me. But we can keep going on. Good thought there. Good place. We got more news, more stories, more charts to take a look at. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, smash the like. I know audio's been an issue. Again, it's all Smay's fault. Let him know in the comments. He's not allowed to ever leave again. What else we have in the way of news here, Shrum?
Yeah, Tim, we've got one more news story, but I wanted to just kind of bookmark what you were saying there with a resource that folks can go reference on their own, and that is this Twitter account, Coin App Rank Bot. You guys can zoom in on this and pause it and go check it out for yourself. But this covers every 4 hours or every 8 hours. It posts what the Coinbase's rank in the Apple App Store is. Among the finance apps, it's top 10. Among all apps, it's 123. Historically, when we're topping, right, when interest for crypto is at an all-time high, when your grandma's starting to ask you about Dogecoin, when one of your employees is quitting because he's a millionaire now, right? That's the kind of time where Coinbase is being in the top 3, top 5 of the Apple App Store because everybody and their grandmother is racing to pick up these speculative assets, thinking that they're going to be the next Bitcoin. So we're not even in the top 50. We're not even really in the top 100 for Apple App Store of Coinbase. Moving on to the next story here. Are they worried? Trump advisor Hassett says the economy will recover once the government reopens. And then New York, this is kind of a separate thought pattern here, but New York Fed Williams says Fed could soon return to asset purchases to keep funding markets stable. So the Federal Reserve comment is important because that is signaling QE, and the way that the Fed usually operates is they'll feather in these messages into the financial media and get them kind of swirling around without Jay Powell actually saying it from the podium himself. So this is one of many flurrying messages that's kind of entering the zeitgeist of Wall Street and crypto. But the one that we want to camp out here is this one. Trump advisor Hassett says the economy will recover once the government reopens. This has since been echoed by other folks at the White House and across in Washington. And we're also kind of I want to get your reaction first to just Hassett's thoughts there and how this would impact the economy. And then we also have Polymarket's prediction of when the heck is the government going to open back up. But yeah, what do you think about these words from the White House advisor?
I agree with him, and I think we're coming in. We had the largest or longest shutdown of government we've ever had. Mm-hmm. Historically, shutdowns when they're short term can actually kind of pump markets at time because it's clear there's going to be probably some cut spending or some sort of another thing happening that's bullish. But 37 days. We're at 37 days, I think, at this point. I don't know. I haven't had to fly in the last 37 days, but anyone who has had to fly. What?
No, you're right. 46 days. Sorry. Continue. I'm stepping on you. Continue.
Yeah, there we go. So I haven't had to fly in the last 37 days, but anyone who has noticed disruptions. I think we're hearing airports are talking about there's 5,000 flights being canceled a day. I can't remember the number of thousands of employees they're going to have to furlough. So flights alone are a problem, but flights will also kind of impact how things are being transported. The economy, it's a trickle-down effect, is getting depleted at this point because one of the reasons why we have such high debt is the amount of people that work for the federal government. Well, when you work for the federal government and the government shuts down, you don't get paid. So that's people not getting paid. And the services that you provide are not being given, which have a dramatic effect on the economy. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. Not only do you get more people getting more money because they get paid, and it's good when people get paid, you also get services that we depend on, know it or not, from the U.S. government coming back into the fold. So there's not really a whole lot of conversation to have about if he's right or wrong. The bigger question, and I think we're going to lead right into this based off the Polymarket prediction, is when the heck will we finally reopen the government? What's Polymarket saying at this point, Shrum?
Showing a November 16th prediction. So that's what this spread, I'm going to break it down more than that, but that's kind of what this spread equals. When asking the question, when will the government shutdown end? The answer from Polymarket's highest volume spread right now is November 16th, but that has changed a lot even today. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys is this chart here, right? This is the all-time chart, and what you'll notice is you go forward in time, these lines all kind of make sense. There's a couple of very volatile periods, but for the most part, it's a little bit more flat. Recently, since November 4th, you can look at it here. It has just been spaghetti mode for these lines, and through it all, the signal that's still coming out is that the orange line, which is the longest dated, the November 16th plus, continues to just plow forward at 51%. So meaning that it's going to go November 16th or after. And again, all of the spreads and all of the data is pointing towards November 16th as of right now, as of almost 4 o'clock, almost market close of the New York Stock Exchange, is when the government is going to open back up. We also had this headline: Senate Majority Leader John Thune offers amended House funding bill with January expiration and 3 full-year spending bills to end the shutdown. So you could lightly interpret that as it's in the Democrats' hands to take that bill and run with it and pass it and open the government back up. Now, of course, politically, it's much more complicated than that. But there is what I would characterize as fragile foundations that are being put together right now for that shutdown to be ended. But at any time, there could be many wrecking balls in Washington that kind of come through and just totally obliterate that foundation and have to start again.
Right.
So Polymarket thinks will open back up next week.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. It's been a long, long time, but here's the good news. I think we all agree it'll be a good thing when it opens back up. The markets will do well. Whether the bottom is in or not, a market should at least rebound short term from those things. Now, could that happen right now? That's been one of the only things I have said is, could we see a bottom be confirmed if, let's say, like tomorrow they announce the shutdown is over, it's ahead of schedule, all of a sudden things seem very good on that end. So there's still a lot of stuff that can happen that could cause the markets to confirm the bottom's in. It's just we got to wait a little bit longer. And like Shrum said, he kind of pointed this out. I kind of had a disagreement with him, but he makes a very good point. In a conversation we had before the stream, I said this is one of those weird things I think it's hard to bet on, because unlike the Federal Reserve cutting rates, that's a lot of data. A lot of data goes into decisions there. So it's really easy for people to look at data and make predictions. When it comes to this has to do with the temperament of U.S. senators. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or moderate. I think we all can come together and agree sometimes our lawmakers are the most ridiculous people on the planet. However, why is Polymarket possibly a very good source to use? Because at the moment, it's pretty easy if you have inside information to bet big on these types of situations. I don't know their exact track record, but I thought I saw it published a couple of weeks ago that Polymarket has a ridiculously good track record of calling things. It's not 100%, but it's very high. One of the reasons why is because I think a lot of people with inside knowledge are putting a lot of money in there. So right now, with that leading thought being closer to the 16th, until I see Polymarket shift or we hear somebody from the government come out and announce the shutdown is complete, you got to probably stick with what you're seeing over there in Polymarket. People with money and people that bet money seem to know these things. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah. Would you put it at the top, though? Like, is this government shutdown, government opening back up, is that the main driver of price action right now in the markets, crypto and equities, do you think?
No, I mean, well, it's going to contribute to the main thing being liquidity. Liquidity is a big factor. But for that, you have to go to talking to the Fed. You have to go to talking to this government shutdown. You have to talk to manipulation in general from large entities. I'm still not convinced, especially with reports coming out recently that China wants to enter into the crypto space pretty big. They want to come in with a lot. China would absolutely be involved in keeping things suppressed so they could buy more of it at cheaper prices. So there's a handful of things leading toward why price action is going down. Now, will we see a December rate cut? Will we see, here's something, I don't even know if we have this in here or not, but we know that QT is going to end here December 1st. Which Fed member, Shrum, I think you posted this. Which Fed member came out that said that we think that quantitative easing actually might start sooner than people are anticipating? That would have massive ripple effects that are bullish for the markets, injecting more liquidity back in. Do you remember who that Fed member was?
I mean, from the post today, it was Fed Williams.
Williams, okay.
Saying that it'd be likely.
I get them all mixed up. I get all those Fed members. They all look the same. I'm just kidding. They don't.
Fed Waller is the one who is likely going to be the next chair. That's who I think is going to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve, because
he's definitely vying for it.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. I think we want to get into some Q&A. I'm seeing a lot of eager people. There's definitely a theme that is emerging there in the chats. But are we ready to get into some Q&A?
Yeah, let's get into this. And I thought I added this. Let me go add this real quick. There's one coin that probably is getting more attention, and it's not just today, it's really the last couple of weeks. Here's something I want to be honest with you guys. I told you guys today, we tell you the truth. When we're wrong about things, we're wrong about things. We're right. We were wrong on this, and when I'm saying wrong by omission in the sense that we haven't brought it up, and I apologize. I saw people posting on it, and I just didn't know enough about it until now. It's a little too late. Zcash is, of course, the coin that is taking the internet by storm when it comes to cryptocurrency. Go to my chart here, Shrum, and let's just take a look here. Dating back to September, let's date it back to, September, August, when the rest of the space was kind of topping, getting close to tops at least, Zcash at this point was about $38.98. It is now, oh my gosh, it is up 1,696. Let's just do a little rounding because it was a little higher earlier today. That is a 1,700% increase, or in other words, an 18x of your investment. So why do I say I'm wrong here? I'm wrong because we should have paid attention to this sooner, and I deeply apologize. And if you want to unfollow us because we missed it, I get it. I completely get it. If you want to click unsubscribe or unfollow, be my guest. Please don't, but you can. So what do we do with this now, right? This is something that's like, I remember when I was younger, and we're talking about, I'm still a grown adult this time, but younger days of investing, I remember seeing things like this happen that I'd miss out on. And the gut temptation to ape into it was very strong, thinking, oh my gosh, how did I miss out? I got to get in now before it does another 17, 18x. That is not the way to treat this right now whatsoever. I'm not predicting that Zcash is going to collapse and lose all these. So if you're sitting here saying, man, maybe Tim's going to tell us we can buy it at like $50 or $48 or 30, no, probably not. Maybe, but probably not. What I can tell you is I'm not a buyer of it right now. I can't tell you what to do with your money. I'm not a buyer of it right now because even though we haven't officially gotten any sell signals yet, we've ignored some bearish divergence, which is just how crazy strong this is. You just will never, ever, 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 ever and one more for good measure, ever find me buying an asset that has this level of overbought oscillators. This is the daily chart right here, even the weekly chart. You can do a lot. You can do a lot to me. You're not going to find me buying an asset that has an RSI on the weekly chart of 94. Sorry. You're not going to get it out of me. What you want to do, if you want to buy an asset that has a weekly RSI of 94, be my guest. But me, not going to happen. Am I about to short Zcash? No, I am not. At least not until I get some confirmed sell signals. I was looking for it actually earlier today. No sell signal on the daily chart, right? It doesn't even do me any good to bring up my indicators because literally indicators when it comes to resistance, there's no resistance above. There's nothing. You can look at maybe targets to buy back down. I think 273 could be a very interesting order block on the daily chart. It's where the smart trail is. It's where a big order block is sitting. But shorting, I got to get me a sell signal to actually flash. I wonder if there is a sell signal popping up anywhere. 12 hours not under a sell signal. You can see it was under a sell signal. That didn't really do much. So that's even more of the reason why I kind of need to see a daily sell signal before I think about shorting this. I could probably find some miniature ones down here on the 4-hour chart. We're very close to one, but even that, we're talking about very minimal pullbacks whatsoever. This would be, if you want a scalp trade, you get a 4-hour short right here with the indicator here. Flow signals. This is an indicator you only get when you're in our VIP trading group. You get it for free though, by the way. The 4-hour has, look at this, sell signals coming in. We come back down. We touch those smart trails. So very good indicator here for scalping on Zcash. But any type of long-term trade, any type of movement here, I don't see a sell signal on the daily chart. So I'm not a shorter right here of Zcash. I'm not fading Zcash. I'm waiting patiently for a confirmed sell signal, and maybe we then look at a short. Or if I miss that, I'll look down here. I'll look at, like, I would be a buyer of Zcash at $263 per coin. And you might be saying, Tim, that's a pretty steep correction here. You're talking about a correction of 50, 60% to the downside. Yes, when you have a 2-month, $1,700 rally, a 50 or 60% correction is not the craziest thing in the world. So prepare yourself for it, because that kind of stuff happens all the times with things like this. But I want to wrap that up with just saying, I apologize to everyone for not bringing up Zcash sooner. I'm here talking about it. I'm telling you, I'm not a buyer yet. I do think it's an with how fast and how crazy it rallied in 2 months. I do think this is something to pay attention to in the future, but I will not be buying until I see a prolonged pullback and find some support levels being touched, and maybe even waiting for the next daily buy signal or higher. What are your thoughts about Zcash, Shrum?
I think it's interesting. I don't think, like some people think, that they're just paying a bunch of influencers to pump it. I don't think that's the case. I think that there's been big voices in finance who have been pro Zcash and other privacy coins like Monero for a long time. Zero Hedge and Tyler Durden have been talking about privacy coins and wondering, why aren't these coins higher? They continue the ethos of a lot of the cyberpunk stuff and a lot of the anti-establishment kind of vibe that is being lost on the Bitcoin and Ethereum side because of the commercialization and the institutionalization of crypto. Now, I, for one, am going to sit here and I'm going to continue to cheer on the institutions getting involved in crypto. I do shed a bit of a tear for, some of that cyberpunk ethos being lost. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is still money that you can't stop me from sending. You might know that I sent it, but you can't stop me from sending it, right? And there's a lot of other, anti-establishment characteristics that Bitcoin will never shed, no matter how much it gets swallowed into Wall Street. So all of that to say, I think that privacy coins are fulfilling kind of an organic expression that the market is kind of taking part in. I do think that there's some folks who are disproportionately positioned to benefit from the rise of Zcash, and that's just Zcash whales, right? That's not any kind of like deep, dark, malevolent manipulation. That's just the way it is. So I think, though, at the end of the day, I'm not going to buy Zcash. I didn't buy it. I haven't held it. I think people who bought it and it's went to the upside, I'm going to have the same feeling I feel for all coins that I don't have that go to the upside in a big way. I'm going to cheer you on. Great. You picked a good one. I would encourage you probably to consider taking some profit, but maybe not. Maybe you're going to ride it to infinity and beyond. Who knows? So that's my thoughts. Don't hate it. Not going to fade it, but I'm not going to try to chase it.
I think that's a good point right there too. And I want to respond to two kind of thoughts here. Number one, you kind of mentioned it there. There's people that say that automatically. That will say that too, like, oh, Zcash is just an influencer pumped coin. Listen, influencer pumped coins are like you take the coin at 5 million and turn it into like 100 million. Great returns. Maybe you might even see from time to time like a $50 million market cap get turned into like almost $1 billion. That's pretty impressive. Right now, Zcash is sitting at $11.3 billion market cap. There's not a single influencer on the planet that can get it to go that high. I don't even know if all of us influencers were to get all combined together and say, let's all pump Zcash, that we would be able with our viewers to get it that high. That is something to get above 11 billion. Again, we're talking about the same level of what we have seeing with like Chainlink and Cardano and that is going to take some pretty large institutional flows, some whale flows, and whales and institutions aren't sitting and watching YouTube to see what their favorite YouTuber is suggesting to buy on coins they've never heard of. They are doing proper deep analysis on value and investing heavily. Now, does that mean Zcash is going to stay a top 12 coin, top 15 coin the rest of the bull market? Not necessarily. This could be a flash in the pan. It ends up falling back to like number 50. I don't know. I'm not here to make a statement about that. But I am here to say Zcash is not an anomaly that's just a pump and dump flash in the pan because of influencers. That logic doesn't track. Another question someone asked is, where can you even trade Zcash? Because I don't see it on Blowfin. You guys know we have a Blowfin link. You can sign up with a Blowfin link below. But I'll tell you, with our new partners, Toobit, you can go trade Zcash right now on Toobit. The cool part about Toobit also is that when you sign up with our link, you get automatic access to VIP level 1 fees. So save yourself some fees. Toobit also, in case you're wondering, compared to every other exchange that we looked at, one of the reasons we partnered with them to move forward is because I think that Toobit handled October 10th's crash the best of any exchange I saw out there. So we're very happy to partner with them. They had a great holdup, but even those of you who maybe had lost some money, anyone who used Toobit and lost money they really shouldn't have lost because they weren't entered into a trade, Toobit had a whole series of funds to help fund people back that money that was lost. So if you're looking for a more secure, you never know here. There's no safety net in the world of trading, especially when it comes to trading crypto. So do your own research, think for yourself. But if you're asking me, what am I using from here on out? It's going to be Toobit. And there's a couple cool features about it when you use our link as well, some cashback deals you can get. But go check out that link down below. By the way, you'll see this. Go to my screen here, Shrum. You'll see a link tree down there, and this is what it'll look like. So go to this link tree, click on that Toobit, sign up with our link down below, start trading your Zcash and other coins today. No KYC, no VPN required. Go check it out. Let's look at some other questions here. We'll look at some questions in a second. I know we have 5 minutes here. Let's talk about it. We talked about it earlier. Let's talk about the other craziness happening in the markets right now. Let's go through a couple coins and see what they're doing in price action. Go to my screen here. Of course, the big ones that are going to catch attention because they're top coins. Ondo having a phenomenal day here. Again, you look at the daily chart, it doesn't look so phenomenal, but 15% for Ondo. It's back up at 68% or 68 cents here. Very good day. Again, zoom out before you freak out. By no means have we broken the bearish structure here, but it is a good day for Ondo holders. You got coins like Sui is up 11% on the day. AVAX is up 11%. Then you move into some coins that start to deal in the D-pin world. You got Algo over here, 17%, back up to 18 cents. I think I said, Injective 22%. Someone mentioned earlier Polkadot. Let's look at the Polkadot chart. 20% up right now on the day. Here's the deal. And I don't want to necessarily pick on DOT alone because there's a couple coins that are like this. People are freaking out about a 20% pump on Polkadot. Before you freak out, zoom out. Don't pay attention to the Binance wick. Polkadot had to pump 20% to run into the support levels from June, April, and it's not even back up to lows of 2023. If you're sitting here telling me that because Polkadot is up 20% today, that means Polkadot is back and this is the best investment in the world, go for it. Invest in it. I'm not buying Polkadot. In my personal opinion, I think Polkadot is a dead coin. Let's get into the real winners, though, right? Let's get into the real winners of the day. And you're going to find a common theme amongst these names. Let's go through them. Render. Again, the chart's not necessarily that impressive. There's a little wick coming down here even on this week. Let's go back here on today. Render's up 35% today, going from $1.96 up to let's see, what did it get to? $2.90. But we're having a little correction. Render, everybody. Near is up 31% from 209 to 293. Big gain there. Graph, 28% up there to 72 cents. Here's a big one. FET AI. I think we mentioned it earlier, but if I guess you weren't here, FET is up 66% at the moment. It was up even more, as high as 46 cents. We mentioned this earlier. It's just running into some former support turned resistance. So let's get that break. Otherwise, look at this doing right now, guys. Like this is not the sign you're looking for. Run perfectly into that resistance, former support, and now we're having a little bit of a pullback. If the bulls want to win here, let's go a little higher. But still, 70-something% at one point today. Great news for FET. Oh, how about this one over here, though? And again, there's a lot of coins doing a lot of pumpage. Filecoin, 78% on the day. And again, it was even more. Let me see this. Let's get the exact percentage from the bottom to the top. It opened this morning at $1.88. It has been as high as $3.92 and 108% move in one day here on Filecoin. I like this one a little bit better than some of the others because it didn't run to some sort of major downtrending resistance. It's actually breaking some resistance that we've seen for the last couple of weeks here, right? We actually got higher. This is the highest Filecoin's been since way back in February of this year. That's a good feat for Filecoin. What is a big situation, though, that connects these coins? It's going to be AI. I know Filecoin's more of a D-pin project, but if you go and look it up under CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, it'll be listed there as an AI token. AI, with the exception of BitTensor Tau, who's been kind of carrying this thing the whole time, AI has popped off today. And we only have like a minute or two left for the show here. So I don't want to go too deep here, Shrum. Let's maybe save our conversation we had earlier for another time, even though we'd have to probably have it on Monday. That's just too much to get into right now. So leaving you guys on a little bit of a cliffhanger right there. What are your thoughts here? It seems like if the coin is associated with AI, it is having a monster day. Is that a coincidence? Is that crazy? Again, BitTensor Tau hasn't, but BitTensor Tau is pulling back after having its own monster rallies by itself. How do you read that, and what are your thoughts about the AI play there?
Let me. I'm trying to think of how to say this in a very concise and respectful way. I think the best way to say it is I don't think that there are cryptos that are good that are claiming to be AI coins, other than BitTensor Tau. I think there's some others that could prove me wrong, like Render and maybe Near, right, are kind of in the conversation. But I've studied this. I've looked into the technology. And I've understood the founders like Sam Altman and others who are really leading in the AI space. And I've also followed very closely what it takes to operate an LLM that's going to be competitive, to train it, and then also to maintain it and grow and compete. Blockchain does not have any kind of strategic advantage when it comes to operating an AI. Again, the exception to that is BitTensor Tau. So that begs the question, well, why is AI pumping? Why are the AI cryptos pumping today? And I think that's where we'll have to cut it off. But I have my suspicions of why it is, and my reaction to that is I am not buying them at all.
To put a bow on it and to not get too deep into some pretty heavy conversation, I think this is the walkaway. Like, no matter what we were about to say, if we had that conversation, this would be the walkaway. Over the weekend, watch those charts and prepare yourself for some profit taking. And if you're brave and you want to short, look for sell signals and potentially look for shorts. If you're sitting here looking at those pumps saying, I got to ape in and buy now, you do you, because it's your decision what you do with your money. My suggestion is prepare for profit taking and look for potential short opportunities. Guys, as we wrap it out here, if you're sitting here watching these shows and you've enjoyed it, smash the like, make sure you're subscribed. Today was a messy one, but it still was full of a lot of information. If you're hearing us talk about this trading game and you're seeing the money that we're making on the daily basis from reports of our VIP trading group, I'm not even telling you right now to go join the VIP trading group. The first thing you need to do is understand what goes into being a successful trader, and whether, while a lot of people want to talk about support and resistance and knowing these different things, the number one difference between good traders and bad traders is their understanding of risk management. And so if you want to go big into trading, if you want to learn to be successful, or maybe you've been trading and you want to get better because you're tired of losing, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the last warning here. After this, we're going to have our webinar tomorrow. There's a webinar on a Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, November 8th. We'll be going over Tim's 10 rules for trading. These are rules that I've learned over the last 5 years that I have made mistakes, I have lost money, and I learned I've got to create some discipline rules for myself to make sure I have proper risk management. And since applying these rules, this is the biggest difference between me being a profitable trader versus losing money. Yes, I've gotten better at technical analysis. Yes, I found cool tools to know when to buy and when to sell. But the real trick to it all, understanding when to get in, when to walk away, and how to protect yourself from big losses so that your gains outweigh those losses. Tomorrow morning, show up, sign up with that link down below, come to our free webinar. We'll see you there. The rest of you, will see you on Monday. Love you guys. Adios.